Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been following the Missing Middle Initiative closely since initial engagement began in 2019, and I strongly support this policy. Having encountered a lot of misinformation about the initiative, I've summarized some of the points of the proposed policy which have been overlooked or excluded from the conversation, and in particular from local journalism covering the Missing Middle Initiative. There are many ways this policy ensures new buildings will fit the form and character of their neighborhood while allowing modest densification. One of these parameters is site coverage. This refers to the area of a property which is occupied by a structure, and as shown in this diagram from the city's definitions, it includes area occupied by the house as well as decks, stairs, garden sheds, and so on. The maximum site coverage allowed on a lot zoned as missing middle is 40%. 4 zones are proposed to be rezoned as missing middle: Rockland single family, Gonzales single family, and 2-family dwelling district. As you can see, 3 of the 4 zones will maintain the same maximum site coverage they currently have, Gonzales increasing only by 10%. This, along with the city's robust tree protection bylaw, are among the various parameters protecting our urban canopy and ensuring ample green space in our neighborhoods. This scaled diagram shows a streetscape with buildings at the maximum height allowed in their zone. The city measures the height of a pitched roof at the halfway point from the roof's peak to the lowest eave. Missing middle buildings are shown as the 2 center buildings in this diagram. At 3 stories, they're 1 story taller than buildings currently allowed in 3 of the 4 zones proposed for rezoning, and only half a story taller than buildings allowed in Rockland. The city defines a half story as a story up to 70% of the area of the first floor of the building. This modest increase in height ensures missing middle buildings fit respectfully into our historic neighborhoods. To ensure missing middle buildings meet transportation demand, each dwelling unit is required to have a minimum of 2 long-term bike parking stalls and 0.77 vehicle stalls. Half of all these long-term bike parking stalls must have electric charging. This is in addition to bike parking for visitors and 1 accessible vehicle stall per building. I've heard many people express concern over the lack of tenant assistance parameters included in this initiative. Victoria's tenant assistance policy is not applied by zone, and the same assistance policy will apply to the properties under discussion whether the Missing Middle Initiative is adopted or not. As many people have expressed, this policy is not a silver bullet in solving our complex housing issues. It's one of the many steps needed to build an inclusive, affordable, and regenerative future for our community. On a personal note, we need to evolve the conversation. I'm a 3rd-generation Canadian, a 31-year-old long-term tenant who's been well paid my entire adult life with no prospect of owning a home. This is common among my peer group, who have very different expectations of adult life than our parents' generation. Knowing the challenges faced by well-established middle-class Canadians in finding adequate housing, does it not make you wonder what our communities are doing to prepare for the mass immigration we know to expect from decades of inaction on climate change? What are we doing to support the communities our lifestyles are displacing? Victoria's housing needs are already 20% higher than estimated in our 2012 official plan. Models for population growth are unreliable and underestimated by most Canadian cities. Victoria is not the only community considering medium density zoning. In Canada, Edmonton's developing similar policy, and Toronto and Vancouver have started the conversation as well. Globally, New Zealand introduced medium density zoning at a federal level, rezoning all urban areas in the country. I've heard many people say they feel the city's consultation period has been too brief, and yet this conversation started in 2019. These past 3 years of community engagement has lasted almost the entire term of this council and spanned multiple phases. How is council supposed to act on their platforms when community consultation extends beyond their term? Now that this decision is being pushed to the brink of our next election, and with many councillors stepping away, I'm concerned this policy won't pass, and if not passed now, this or something similar will be brought to future councils. Young people are faced with unprecedented environmental and housing crises, and as these young people gain power, Victoria will eventually pass legislation to increase density. The Missing Middle Initiative could be a legacy of this council, and I'm asking council to please have the courage to vote in favor of this policy tonight. Thank you.